Push is one of the more challenging tasks on mobile. The first time around, it's an uphill battle because it's just so darn confusing and alien. However, once you understand the underlying logic and platform oddities, it becomes simple. We'll start with GCM by going to developers.google.com/mobile/ad, where we need to be logged in with our Google account. Here, start by clicking Pick a platform, for which we have selected Android. While GCM has some support for iOS, it is not native support, and we use the native iOS push servers directly instead. Now we need to paste the package of the application so Android can properly identify the right caller. You are prompted to create the package if the app doesn't exist yet. Notice the term app in this case refers to the server-side logical application in Google's cloud and not to the client-side Android native application. After we finish this, we can press choose and configure services. This opens a prompt after a short wait. We can either share or not share service data. That's up to you. And we can proceed to the final stage of creation of the app, which also entails some waiting. In the final stage, we can activate cloud messaging. This provides us with two important keys, one a long string and the other numeric. You need to keep both values for later, as we will need them to send and receive push. But first we need the value from the sender ID. We need to launch the Codename One Settings application and go to the build hints. Here we can add the GCM sender ID build hint and place in the sender ID that we got from Google. Once we do that, the Android portion of the registration is done. We'll still need some of these values in the code, but we finished the configuration portion of Android. In the iOS side, we need to run the certificate wizard because push needs special certificates of its own. But first you need to make sure you are logged in with a pro account or higher within the preferences UI. Otherwise you won't be prompted for push details. Once we log in to the Apple developer account, we can move to the next step. We pick or add devices. I tinted the device list a bit for privacy, and then we move to the next stage. This is a very important and confusing concept in the certificate wizard. If you don't have a certificate or it's the first time around, you won't see this dialog. But if you already have a certificate and it's working for you, you should normally answer no. That's important as revoking the certificate would mean it would stop working for your other apps. And if you have more than one Codename One app on the same account, it's probably not what you want. If you already have a P12 certificate for iOS, you need to reference it from this project. A provisioning profile will be generated with reference to the existing certificate, so it's important to get all of these pieces right. Assuming this is the case, you will probably get prompted again for the debug certificate, as iOS has two certificates for debug and production. Everything we said about the production certificate beforehand applies here exactly the same way. We now get this form. Naturally, I chose not to generate the certificates, so it says so on top. But the important piece here is the enable push checkbox that we must activate. If this checkbox isn't here, then you aren't logged in with a pro account. Once we finish and press save, the certificate should be generated. We should also receive an email with the instructions and URL explaining how we should integrate push. The email should contain URLs in the cloud for 2 push certificates, which are also generated to your local file system under iOS certs. These URLs are important when we need to send the push message.